Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast. There's a certain hush that falls over the house after the lights are strung and the tree's ornaments are in place. In that quiet moment, you might notice a forgotten box tucked away on a shelf or hidden in a trunk. It doesn't announce itself with glossy paper or bright bows. It might even look plain: old cardboard, a wooden latch, a dusty top. Yet inside it holds something far more meaningful than any store-bought gift. Pieces of your family's past waiting to be rediscovered. Years ago, I found such a box in my grandmother's attic. It contained letters written when her handwriting was still neat and steady, photographs of relatives whose names I had to puzzle out, and a handful of unexpected trinkets. A worn button, a pressed rose, a few scraps of lace. Initially, I saw these items as curiosities, odd fragments from another era. But the more I studied them, the more I realized they weren't just souvenirs. They were insights into how my ancestors experienced their world, how they prepared for the holidays, what they hoped for, and what they cherished. Think of these personal artifacts like keys. They won't unlock official records or confirm dates the way birth certificates and land deeds do, but they can help you understand who your ancestors were beyond the basic facts. A letter describing a particularly cold December could reveal how your great-grandparents adapted their celebrations under challenging circumstances, perhaps making decorations by hand or finding joy in something as simple as fresh-baked bread. A photograph, faded at the edges, might show an unexpectedly humorous side of a stern-looking grandfather if you catch him mid-laugh next to a scraggly holiday tree in a borrowed parlor. One of the most enchanting parts of this process is discovering subtle connections to your own life. Say you pull out a letter mentioning a local fair held near Christmas. Maybe you visited that same spot decades later without realizing your family had strolled those lanes long before. Or you read a postcard that references a particular holiday pastry. Without knowing it, you might have inherited a taste for that very treat, simply because it appeared annually on your family's table. Each clue you uncover can give weight and meaning to your current traditions, making them feel less like habits you've fallen into and more like heirlooms passed down from one generation to the next. This is not always a straightforward journey. You may encounter letters in languages you don't read easily, photos with no names on the back, or small keepsakes whose significance is lost to time. Don't let that discourage you. Consider these mysteries as prompts for conversation. Ask older relatives if they recall anyone mentioning a worn brooch or an oddly shaped ornament. If no one in the family has answers, turn to local historians, cultural centers, or online groups dedicated to the places your family once called home. Shared stories from others who've walked similar paths might guide you in interpreting what you've found. As you uncover these personal stories, consider integrating them into your present-day celebrations. If you find a mention of a dessert that appears in a century-old letter, try baking it this year and see how it tastes at your own table. If a photograph shows an unusual way of decorating a tree, perhaps strings of dried fruit, paper ornaments, or a particular pattern of candles, incorporate an element of that style into your holiday decor. These acts aren't about nostalgia for its own sake. They're about making your family's past a living part of your holidays. In doing so, the individuals who wrote those letters and posed for those photographs feel closer, and your celebration deepens with their presence. Keep in mind that this connection isn't about romanticizing the past. Your ancestors might have faced hardships that show through in their words, or struggles hinted at by the worn look of certain mementos. Recognizing these challenges can bring compassion and respect to how you view your family's story. Understanding that previous generations also worried about jobs, health, and uncertain futures can make your own concerns feel part of a longer human narrative. The holidays, after all, have never been perfect scenes from greeting cards. They've always required resilience, creativity, and the willingness to find cheer in small pleasures. When you finally tuck these letters, photos, and keepsakes away again, this time perhaps more carefully than before, you'll carry a richer perspective of who your family has been across the decades. It's like adjusting the focus on an old camera lens. Suddenly the scene grows clearer, and you see how each ancestor contributed something to the spirit that fills your home today. Ultimately, the box gives you a direct connection to relatives you never met, helping you understand their lives in ways that paperwork and formal records can't capture. As the holiday season unfolds, their voices mingle with your own traditions, forging a sense of continuity and warmth that endures generation after generation. Thanks for spending time with me on the Ancestral Findings podcast. I always enjoy sharing these stories, tips, and discoveries with you. If you haven't already, head over to ancestralfindings.com, where you can download a free genealogy ebook, request a free lookup, and of course enter to win the next book giveaway. It's been an incredible journey together since 1995, and your support through these past 29 years means more to me than words can express. I'm so grateful for this wonderful community of genealogy enthusiasts who continue to inspire me every day. Keep up the great work on your family history research, and may your next find be as exciting as your first. Thank you again for being part of this journey, and as always, happy searching.